The conference room felt different that morning. Colder. Everyone's shoulders were a little too stiff, their smiles a touch too practiced. I noticed these things because I had spent the last 3 months watching for them, cataloging every micro-expression and whispered conversation. My name is Natasha, and I was about to be fired. "Let's begin the quarterly review," Miranda announced, her heels clicking against the hardwood as she circled the long table. 15 pairs of eyes followed her movement, but mine stayed fixed on my laptop screen. I knew what was coming. Before we dive into numbers, I want to address something that's been concerning the leadership team. Miranda's voice dripped with artificial concern. She stopped directly behind my chair. "Natasha, would you stand up, please?" I closed my laptop with a soft click and rose slowly, smoothing my charcoal pencil skirt. The morning sun through the floor-to-ceiling windows cast my shadow long across the polished table. "Natasha has been with us for 6 years," Miranda continued, pacing now. "And in that time, she's consistently failed to meet the standards we expect from our senior analysts. Would anyone care to share their experiences working with Natasha?" Silence. Dead silence. Then, "I've found her work to be thorough," Brian spoke up from the far end of the table, his kind eyes meeting mine. "She's never missed a deadline." Miranda's smile tightened. "Thorough isn't enough, Brian. We need innovation, leadership, impact." She turned to face me directly. "Natasha, your last 3 projects have been mediocre at best. Your team members report you're difficult to work with. Unreachable. Cold." I felt Summer, our newest intern, shift uncomfortably in her seat beside me. She'd only been here 2 months, but I'd seen Miranda grooming her as the next rising star. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Miranda asked, clearly not expecting much. "I believe my work speaks for itself," I replied evenly. "Well, that's exactly the problem." Miranda's voice rose, playing to her audience. "Your work speaks volumes about your inability to grow, to adapt, to be anything more than useless." The word hung in the air like poison. Someone gasped softly. "Therefore," Miranda continued, practically glowing with satisfaction, "we're terminating your employment, effective immediately. Security will escort you to clear out your desk." I didn't move, didn't flinch. Just reached into my bag and pulled out a slim manila envelope. "Actually, Miranda," I said, my voice carrying clearly across the silent room, "I have something you might want to see first." "Whatever that is can be handled by HR," she snapped, already turning away. "Oh, I don't think so." I slid the documents across the table. "These are ownership records for the company. I think you'll find them particularly interesting, especially the part showing that I own 51% of the shares." Miranda froze mid-step. The color drained from her face as she snatched up the papers, her hands shaking slightly as she flipped through them. This is impossible," she whispered. "Is it?" I smiled, finally allowing myself to enjoy the moment. "Check the dates. Check the signatures. Everything is perfectly legal and verified by our corporate attorneys last week." Nathaniel, one of our board members, cleared his throat. "I can confirm these documents are legitimate. I helped process the transfer myself." Miranda's perfectly manicured nails crumpled the paper's edges. "You can't do this. You're nothing. You're boss," I finished for her. "And you're right about one thing. Someone in this room is being terminated today." I picked up my laptop and turned to address the stunned faces around the table. "Everyone, please welcome our new interim CEO, Brian Johnston. I trust you'll all give him your full support while we restructure the leadership team." As security arrived, summoned by Brian's discreet text, to escort Miranda out, my phone buzzed with a message. I glanced down to see a text from my half-sister Elise. "You always were a good actress." I slipped the phone back into my pocket, watching Miranda's retreating back. She had no idea this was just the beginning. 3 months earlier, I sat in a dimly lit bar downtown, watching Nathaniel fidget with his whiskey glass. The ice clinked against the sides as he processed what I'd just proposed. "You want to buy how many shares?" he whispered, leaning forward. "Enough to take control," I said, sliding my father's old trust fund documents across the table. "The money's been sitting there for years, gathering interest. It's time to put it to use." Nathaniel ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "Miranda has no idea this trust exists, does she?" My father was careful. After he died, everyone assumed everything went to Elise. Nobody bothered to check the dormant accounts. "And Philip? How does he factor into this?" I smiled, remembering the late-night meeting with our former CEO 6 months ago. Philip was more than happy to sell his shares to someone who could expose what Miranda did to him. "The hostile takeover," Nathaniel nodded. "Miranda convinced the board he was incompetent, but never provided real evidence." "Exactly." I took a sip of my martini. Philip kept detailed records of everything, including proof that Miranda fabricated performance reports to force him out. The bartender passed by, and we fell silent until he was out of earshot. "Why tell me this?" Nathaniel asked. "It's dangerous knowledge." "Because I need someone on the board who remembers what the company was like before Miranda. Someone who still has a conscience." He studied me for a long moment. "What you're planning? It's not just about Miranda, is it?" "No," I admitted. "It's about setting things right." "All of it." Back in the present, I stood in my new office, Miranda's old one, watching the sun set over the city. The door opened, and Brian stepped in, holding a stack of files. "The initial audit results," he said, dropping them on my desk. "It's worse than we thought. Miranda and Elise have been cooking the books for years." I picked up the top file. "Show me." Brian pointed to a series of transactions. "They've been siphoning funds from subsidiary companies, masking it as operational costs. Over $2 million just disappeared." "Not disappeared," I corrected. "Redistributed. To their personal accounts, I'm betting." "There's more." Brian hesitated. "Summer found something in the archive. Emails between Miranda and Elise from 6 years ago, right before you were demoted." My hand tightened on the paper. "Let me see." He pulled up the emails on his tablet. There it was in black and white. Elise deliberately sabotaging my projects, Miranda covering her tracks. The systematic destruction of my career, orchestrated by my own sister. A knock at the door interrupted us. Summer stood there, looking nervous. "Ms. Miranda is in the lobby," she said. "She's demanding to speak with you. Says she has proof the share transfer was illegal." I exchanged glances with Brian. "Show her up." Minutes later, Miranda stormed in, waving a folder. "You think you're clever? These shares, they're tied to a trust that was dissolved years ago." Was it? I opened my desk drawer and pulled out another set of documents. "Because these bank records show otherwise. The trust has been active and growing for 15 years. "Impossible," she sputtered. "Your father closed all his accounts before he died." "All the ones you knew about," I corrected. "He wasn't stupid, Miranda. He knew what you and Elise were planning." Her face went white. "What are you talking about?" "Philip told me everything before he sold me his shares. About how you and Elise conspired to push him out. How you manipulated the board. How you thought nobody would ever find out." Miranda's hands began to shake. "You can't prove any of that." "Actually," Brian stepped forward, tablet in hand, "we can prove all of it." "The question is, would you prefer to resign quietly, or should we involve the SEC?" Miranda's eyes darted between us, the reality of her situation finally sinking in. Without another word, she turned and fled the office. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Elise. "You have no idea what you've started. Family secrets should stay buried." I looked out at the darkening sky, remembering our father's words. In business, timing is everything. The time for secrets was over. Now it was time for truth. The restaurant was exactly the kind of place Elise would choose: expensive, pretentious, and designed to make others feel small. I spotted her at a corner table, wearing our father's favorite pearl necklace like a trophy. "Hello, sister," she said as I sat down. "Still favoring black suits, I see. So severe." "Some things never change," I replied, declining the wine list. "Like your talent for backhanded compliments." A waiter appeared, but Elise waved him away. "Let's skip the pleasantries. What's your endgame here, Natasha?" "Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Those emails to Miranda about my performance issues 6 years ago. Did you enjoy writing them?" Her perfectly composed face flickered for just a moment. "You weren't ready for advancement. I did what was necessary." "Necessary?" I leaned forward. "You systematically destroyed every project I touched, changed numbers in my reports, turned my team against me." "Your own sister." "Half-sister," she corrected, sipping her wine. "And Daddy agreed with my assessment. That's why he changed his will." "Did he? Or did you just make sure he never saw the final version?" Elise's hand trembled slightly as she set down her glass. "Be careful with accusations, Natasha. You're not the only one who can dig up old documents. Like the ones showing how you and Miranda embezzled millions from the subsidiaries? Those numbers are complex. Easy to misinterpret if you don't understand the full picture." "Oh, I understand perfectly." I pulled out my phone and showed her the transaction records. 7 shell companies, all leading back to offshore accounts. Very elegant. For the first time, real fear crossed her face. "Where did you get those?" "Philip kept better records than you thought. Miranda's not the only one going down for this." Elise's composure cracked. "You vindictive bitch. You think you can just walk in and destroy everything we built?" "We," I laughed. "You mean everything you stole. From the company. From Philip. From me. You have no idea what it took to keep that company running," she hissed. "The compromises. The hard choices. You were too naive, too soft. Just like Mother always said." Mother? I felt my chest tighten. So she knew about all this? Mother understood what had to be done. "Why do you think she never reached out after you left?" The waiter approached again, but froze at the tension radiating from our table. "I'll make this simple," I said, standing up. "Resign by Friday, or those transaction records go to the SEC. Your choice." Elise grabbed my wrist. "You're not ready for the enemies you're making. There are things you don't know, forces you can't control." I pulled free. "I learned from the best, sister." "You taught me everything I need to know about control." As I turned to leave, she called after me. "Did you ever wonder why Daddy started that secret trust fund? What he was really protecting you from?" I paused. "What are you talking about?" "Ask Mother about the summer before Daddy died. About the real reason he changed his will." Elise's smile was razor sharp. "This isn't over, Natasha. It's barely begun." Back at the office, I found Brian waiting with more files. "You okay?" he asked, taking in my expression. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just family drama," I said, but my mind was racing. What did Elise mean about that summer? "Well, it's about to get worse," Brian said, handing me a document. "Summer found something else. Your college internship rejection letter from 15 years ago? Elise wrote it. She intercepted the real acceptance and sent a fake rejection." "That's what derailed your original career path." I stared at the letter, remembering the devastation I'd felt, the way that rejection had altered my entire life's trajectory. "There's more," Brian continued. "Miranda's been calling board members all afternoon. Something about an emergency meeting to contest your ownership." I looked out the window at the city lights, my sister's words echoing. "This isn't over. Forces you can't control." "Let them come," I said quietly. I'm done being controlled. But as I watched my reflection in the darkened glass, I couldn't shake the feeling that Elise was right. There were deeper secrets here, and I was only scratching the surface. The boardroom buzzed with tension as I arranged the documents in front of each seat. 14 chairs, 14 copies of evidence that would change everything. Summer helped me distribute water glasses, her hands shaking slightly. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. "Once you show them these numbers, it has to be done," I replied, straightening the last folder. "Get Brian and Nathaniel in here first. I want them to see their reactions." As board members filed in, I studied their faces. Some looked nervous, others curious. Miranda's allies sat together, a tight cluster of expensive suits and hostile glares. Brian took his place at my right, Nathaniel at my left. "Thank you all for coming," I began, standing at the head of the table. "Please open your folders." Papers rustled, then silence. Dead silence. "These numbers," one board member said, his voice shaking. "This can't be right." $2.3 million, I announced, clicking to the first slide. "Diverted through 7 shell companies over the past 3 years, each transfer approved by Miranda and Elise." "This is absurd," Thomas, Miranda's closest ally, sputtered. "These transactions were all approved by falsified board signatures," Brian cut in, standing. "Including yours, Thomas. Or didn't you know Miranda was forging your name?" Thomas's face went pale. He flipped frantically through the documents. "We've already contacted the SEC," Nathaniel added. "They're very interested in these patterns." Summer stepped forward with another stack of papers. "There's more. We found evidence of systematic sabotage against multiple executives who questioned these transactions, including Philip." The room erupted in chaos. Board members arguing, papers flying, accusations flying back and forth. "Enough!" I slammed my hand on the table. "This isn't about pointing fingers. This is about saving our company." "What do you propose?" asked Janet, one of the senior board members. "First, we clean house. Anyone involved in these transactions resigns immediately. Then we restructure, with full transparency." "And who leads this restructure?" Thomas demanded. "You?" "No," I said, nodding to Brian. "Our new CEO will handle daily operations. I'll remain majority shareholder, but step back from direct management." "Why should we trust you?" someone called out. "Because unlike my predecessors, I'm showing you the truth. All of it, even the parts that hurt." The door burst open. Elise stormed in, her face flushed with anger. "This meeting is illegal," she announced. "I filed an injunction against any board decisions until ownership status is fully investigated." I smiled. "Interesting timing, sister. We were just discussing your role in the missing millions." "You have no proof." "Actually," Summer stepped forward, tablet in hand. "We do. Your emails to the Cayman accounts, your signatures on the wire transfers, everything." Elise's composure cracked. "You little spy," she hissed at Summer. "I knew Miranda shouldn't have hired you." "Miranda hired her to spy on me," I corrected. "But Summer made her own choice about right and wrong, unlike you." The board members watched this exchange in stunned silence. "All in favor of accepting the proposed restructuring plan?" Nathaniel called out. Hands raised, one by one. Even Thomas, after a long moment, raised his. "This isn't over," Elise snarled, backing toward the door. "You have no idea what's coming." "Actually, I do," I replied calmly. "The SEC will be here tomorrow morning. I'd pack a bag if I were you." After she fled, the room settled into shocked quiet. "Well," Brian stood, gathering his papers, "I believe we have work to do." As the board members filed out, Summer touched my arm. "There's something else you should see." She handed me a worn envelope. "I found this in the old archive room. It's from your father." Dated the day before he died. My hands trembled as I took it. The seal was unbroken. Where did you? It was hidden in a false bottom of his old desk. Along with this. She placed a small key in my palm. The label says, Safety Deposit Box 247. I stared at the key, my mind racing. What other secrets had my father left behind? Should we open the letter? Summer asked. Not here, I said, slipping both items into my pocket. Some truths need privacy. But as I gathered my things to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that Elise's warnings about what's coming weren't just empty threats. The game was changing, and I needed to be ready for whatever came next. My mother's house looked exactly the same. Pristine white columns, manicured lawn, and that heavy brass knocker that always echoed too loudly. I stood at the door, Father's unopened letter burning a hole in my pocket. Natasha. Mother opened the door, her face a mask of practiced neutrality. What an unexpected surprise. Hello, Mother. May I come in? She stepped aside, her Chanel perfume hanging in the air between us. The foyer still displayed the family photos, all featuring Elise, none of me. I assume this is about your recent corporate takeover, she said, leading me to the sitting room. Elise called. Of course she did. I remained standing while she perched on her favorite armchair. Did she mention the embezzlement? The fraud? She mentioned you're destroying the family legacy. Mother poured herself tea from a delicate porcelain pot. Your father would be disappointed. I pulled out the envelope. Would he? Because I found this in his old office. Care to explain why it was hidden? The teacup clattered slightly against its saucer. Where did you get that? In a false drawer bottom, along with this. I held up the safety deposit box key. What's in box 247, Mother? That's none of your concern. She set down her tea, hands trembling. Those items should have been destroyed years ago. Like the real version of his will? The one Elise replaced? Mother's face hardened. You always were too curious for your own good, just like your father before. Before what? I pressed. What happened that summer before he died? Leave it alone, Natasha. She stood abruptly. Some truths are better left buried. Like the truth about why you chose Elise over me? Why you stood by while she destroyed my career? I protected you. The words burst from her like a dam breaking. You have no idea what your father was involved in, what he discovered. Elise understood. Keeping you away from the company was the only way to keep you safe. I stepped closer. Safe from what? Ask yourself why your father created that secret trust fund, she said, voice shaking. Why he kept it hidden even from me. The money wasn't just for you. It was insurance. Against what? There are people, powerful people, who thought your father knew too much about their dealings, their secrets. She wrung her hands. His accident wasn't an accident at all. The room seemed to tilt. What are you saying? Miranda and Elise. They made deals to keep the truth buried, to keep the company running, to keep everyone safe. She grabbed my arm. By exposing them, you've exposed yourself. I pulled away. You're lying. This is just another manipulation. Check the safety deposit box, she said quietly. Read his letter. But remember, once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. My phone buzzed. A text from Brian. Emergency at the office. Summer found something big. Come quick. I have to go, I said, backing toward the door. Natasha. Mother's voice stopped me. Whatever you find, be careful who you trust. Even family can betray you to save themselves. You'd know all about that, wouldn't you? Back at the office, I found Summer pacing outside my door. What's wrong? She pulled me inside, locking the door. I was digging deeper into those offshore accounts, the money. It wasn't just going to Miranda and Elise. There were other transfers, bigger ones, to numbered accounts. Show me. She pulled up the records on her screen. These accounts. They're linked to some serious players. Investment firms, foreign banks, names I recognize from. The lights went out suddenly, plunging the office into darkness. What the? Summer started. Shh. I grabbed her arm, pulling her away from the windows. Call Brian, tell him to check the security cameras. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Your father should have taught you to leave sleeping dogs lie. Last warning. In the darkness, I clutched the unopened letter in my pocket. Whatever truth lay inside, I knew now it was bigger than family drama or corporate revenge. This wasn't just about taking back what was mine anymore. This was about uncovering what had really happened to my father, and who was willing to kill to keep those secrets buried. The safety deposit box key felt heavy in my hand as the bank manager led me to the vault. Brian stood watch outside, while Summer monitored security cameras from her tablet. Box 247, the manager said, inserting his key alongside mine. Take as long as you need. Inside the box lay a single USB drive and a leather-bound journal. My father's distinctive handwriting filled the pages with dates, names, and numbers, but it was the USB drive that made my blood run cold, labeled simply insurance. Ms. Natasha? Summer's voice crackled through my earpiece. Someone just entered the bank. It's Elise. How did she? She's not alone. 2 men in suits heading your way. I quickly photographed several journal pages and pocketed the USB drive. Brian, status. Back exit's clear, but we need to move now. Footsteps echoed down the vault corridor. I shoved the box back just as Elise appeared, flanked by 2 stone-faced men. Hello, sister, she said coldly. Doing some light reading? Just collecting what belongs to me. That's exactly what Father said before his accident. She nodded to one of the men. The USB drive, please. Come and get it. The man stepped forward, but Brian appeared behind them, his phone raised. Smile, gentlemen. You're on live stream to the SEC's fraud division. Elise's face contorted. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Actually, I held up the journal, I'm starting to understand perfectly. These offshore accounts, they're not just about embezzlement, are they? They're about hiding something bigger. Give me the drive, she hissed, or what happened to Father will look like a pleasant dream. Summer's voice crackled again. Police are 2 minutes out. Security cameras caught everything. It's over, Elise, I said. The truth's coming out, whether you like it or not. She laughed, a hollow sound. You think the police can protect you? These men don't work for me, Natasha. They work for people who make problems disappear. Like they made Father disappear? Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Regret? I tried to warn you, to keep you away. Why couldn't you just stay gone? Because unlike you, I couldn't live with the lies. Sirens wailed outside. The men exchanged glances and retreated, leaving Elise alone. When they come for you, she said quietly, remember, I tried to stop this. Back at the office, Summer helped me decrypt the USB drive while Brian stood guard. These files, Summer whispered, they're huge. Financial records, emails, photographs. Your father was building a case against someone. Not someone, I said, staring at the screen. An entire network. Look at these names. CEOs, politicians, bankers. Holy shit, Brian leaned in. Is that the Secretary of Commerce? Yes. I clicked through more files. Father found a money laundering operation. Billions of dollars, running through companies like ours. That's why they killed him, Summer realized. He was going to expose everything. And Miranda and Elise helped cover it up, I finished. Bought their power with his blood. My office door burst open. Nathaniel rushed in, face pale. We have a problem. The board's calling an emergency session. They're voting to freeze all accounts and operations. They can't. I own controlling shares. They're claiming your shares are invalid. Something about the trust fund being linked to illegal activities. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Last chance. Walk away or join your father. I looked at the three faces watching me. Brian, Summer, Nathaniel, all risking everything to help me find the truth. Send a message to all board members, I said. Meeting in 1 hour. And call every financial reporter in the city. It's time everyone knew what really happened to my father. They'll come for us, Brian warned. Let them come. I plugged the USB drive into my computer. I'm done running from shadows. As my team dispersed to prepare, I opened my father's letter at last. 2 lines were written inside. The truth costs everything, but lies cost more. Be braver than I was. I looked out at the city lights, knowing somewhere out there, powerful people were mobilizing to stop me. Tomorrow would bring either justice or retribution. Either way, there was no turning back now. The boardroom was packed. Board members, reporters, even a few federal agents lined the walls. My mother sat in the back corner, her face ashen. Elise stood by the window, flanked by her mysterious suited men. Before we begin, Thomas announced, standing, we have evidence that Ms. Natasha's shares were purchased with funds from illegal activities. Interesting timing, I said, connecting my laptop to the projector. Because I have evidence about a lot of illegal activities, let's compare notes. The first document appeared on screen, a photo of my father with the Secretary of Commerce. 6 years ago, my father discovered something strange in our international accounts. I clicked through more documents. Money moving through shell companies, billions disappearing and reappearing in offshore accounts. But the real question was, whose money? Summer distributed folders to everyone present. These are transaction records linking prominent political figures to a massive money laundering operation. This is absurd, one of Elise's suited men stepped forward. These documents are clearly fabricated. Are they? Brian stood, holding up his phone. Because the SEC just confirmed their authenticity. Didn't they, Agent Roberts? A woman in the back nodded. We've been building this case for years. Mr. Delgado's evidence was the missing piece. Our father tried to stop it, I continued, looking directly at Elise. And they killed him for it. Didn't they, sister? Elise's composure cracked. You have no idea what they threatened to do. Who they threatened to hurt. So you helped them cover it up? Helped them murder our father? I helped them protect you, she exploded. They were going to kill you too. I made a deal. I would help hide their operation if they left you alone. The room fell silent. And Miranda? I asked quietly. She was already involved. The previous CEO before Philip? He wasn't fired. He was eliminated. Elise's voice shook. I thought keeping you away from the company would keep you safe. By destroying my career? By turning our mother against me? By keeping you alive? Tears streamed down her face. But you just couldn't let it go. Had to play detective like Daddy. And now? The suited men moved toward the doors, but federal agents blocked their path. Now everyone knows the truth, I finished. About the money laundering, the murders, everything. You fool, Elise whispered. You've killed us all. No, my mother's voice rang out as she stood. She's finished what your father started. She walked to the front, pulling out an old phone. And I recorded every conversation I had with the people who ordered his death. Elise staggered back. Mother, you... I kept it as insurance, Mother said, in case they ever came for you girls. Agent Roberts, I believe this will help your investigation. The room erupted in chaos. Agents moved in, reading rights, confiscating phones. The suited men were handcuffed. Reporters frantically typed on their phones. "The Secretary of Commerce has just resigned," Summer announced, reading from her tablet. "FBI raiding offices across the city." Through it all, Elise stared at me, something like respect finally showing in her eyes. "You really are his daughter." Right down to the stubborn principles that got him killed. "The difference is," I said as agents approached her, "I'm not alone, and I'm not afraid anymore." "Ms. Natasha," Agent Roberts called out, "we'll need to take your statement." I nodded, watching as they led Elise away. She stopped at the door. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I did love you, in my own way." "I know," I replied. "That's what makes it worse." After she was gone, Mother touched my arm. "Your father would be proud. And I'm sorry. For everything." "We have a lot to talk about," I said. "But first, there's a company to save." Brian cleared his throat. "The board is ready to vote on new leadership." I looked around the room, at Summer's proud smile, Brian's steady presence, Nathaniel's quiet approval. Even Thomas nodded respectfully. "Actually," I said, "I think it's time for real change. Summer, remember what my father wrote about truth and lies?" She nodded. "The truth costs everything, but lies cost more." "Exactly." I turned to the board. "So let's start telling the truth, about everything. Who's with me?" The hands went up one by one. No more shadows, no more secrets. Just truth, whatever the cost. The evening sun cast long shadows across my father's old office as I packed his remaining belongings. Each item told a story: his favorite fountain pen, the worn leather chair, the family photo from before everything fell apart. "The last of the indictments came down today," Brian said from the doorway. 17 arrests, including the Secretary of Commerce. Your father's evidence broke the whole thing open. And Elise? Agreed to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. Miranda, too." He hesitated. "They're saying this could be the biggest financial corruption case in history." I picked up my father's nameplate, running my fingers over the engraved letters. "Have you seen the stock price?" "Up 12% since the announcement. Turns out transparency is good for business." Brian smiled. "The board's impressed with how you handled everything." "They should be impressed with Summer," I said. "She's the one who found most of the evidence." "Speaking of Summer," he gestured to the door, where she stood clutching a folder. "The final audit report," she said, stepping in. "Every transaction, every hidden account, all traced and documented. We can finally close this chapter." I took the folder but didn't open it. "You know, when this started, I thought revenge would feel better." "Having second thoughts?" Brian asked. "No, just realizing revenge wasn't really the point." I placed the nameplate in a box. Father wasn't trying to expose corruption for revenge. He was trying to make things right. "And you did," Summer said quietly. "You finished what he started." My phone buzzed. A message from Mother. "Visiting Elise today?" "She asked about you. Maybe it's time." "Are you going to see her?" Brian asked, reading over my shoulder. "Eventually. Some wounds need time." I looked around the office. "Speaking of time, I've made a decision about the company." They both straightened, listening. "I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. The board can handle the transition, with you two leading the way." "Us?" Summer's eyes widened. "You've more than earned it." "Besides," I smiled, "I have other work to do." "The foundation?" Brian guessed. I nodded. "We'd announced it yesterday, a watchdog organization dedicated to exposing corporate corruption, funded by my controlling shares." Father's journal had a quote I can't forget, I said, pulling it from my desk. "Power isn't about control, it's about responsibility." He was right, Summer said. "About a lot of things." A knock at the door interrupted us. Agent Roberts stood there with Nathaniel. "The testimony's complete," she said. "Thought you'd want to know. They found evidence clearing your father's name. The official record will show he was trying to stop the corruption, not participate in it." "Thank you," I managed, throat tight. "That means everything." After they left, I picked up the last photo from my father's desk. The three of us, Elise, him, and me, laughing at some forgotten joke. "You know what's strange?" I said to Brian and Summer. "I started this wanting to destroy everything Elise built. But in the end, you built something better," Summer finished. "We built something better," I corrected. "Together." Brian checked his watch. "Board meeting in 10. Ready to announce the changes?" I took one last look around the office, remembering all the battles fought, secrets uncovered, and truths revealed within these walls. "Actually," I said, "let's use the small conference room. This office has seen enough power plays." As we walked out, I paused in the doorway. The setting sun painted the city gold, just like the day I'd first discovered Father's hidden documents. "You okay?" Summer asked. "Just thinking about something Mother said, about how truth and power aren't always the same thing." "And?" Brian prompted. "And she was right. Power is what they had, the people who killed my father, who corrupted this company. But truth," I smiled. "Truth is what set us all free." I closed the door on my father's office for the last time. Ahead, I could hear the board members gathering, ready for change, ready for truth. "Come on," I said to my friends, my allies, my new family. "We have work to do." Because some things are worth more than revenge. Some things are worth building, not breaking. And sometimes, the best way to honor the past is to create a better future. Together.